Greetings and salutations. Thanks so much for tuning in to Mike's Always Right. I'm your host, Mike Eiman. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about creating your inner garage. Now, what do I mean by that? Steve Jobs, Jeff Bezos, Google, Amazon, Apple, Marc Maron, all these people, all these companies, all these great organizations started out in their garage. Now, is there anything special about a garage? Well, let's find out. I've been thinking a lot lately about creativity and how it works and how to create the ideal scenario to improve creativity. I've been reading a book called Pre-Suasion by Robert Cialdini, who's an expert in persuasion. You've probably heard of his first book, which was called Influence. Actually, let me go get it. Here it is. Anyway, so this book is Robert Cialdini's first book. It's about the psychology of persuasion. It's right there in the subtitle. And it's all about the ways that marketers try to persuade consumers into saying yes. So persuasion goes a step further and asks us to consider what kind of primes the pump for someone to say yes to something. And he doesn't mean this in any kind of like criminal or sneaky sort of way. It's sort of giving you the tools to be able to figure out when someone's trying to persuade you, either in a good way or a bad way. Something that I found really interesting about persuasion is there's actually a section in there about how to persuade yourself, basically setting yourself up to do things that you want to do. So the author gives the example of writing books, because he has some experience doing that. So when he wrote Influence, he was working in two different places. So he was working at his office at a university, and then he was also working from his home office. And what he found when he got done writing the first draft of the book is that all the stuff that he'd written in his office at a university sounded very academic and very scholarly. And he'd been in this office that was surrounded by all these big academic buildings. He was surrounded by academic books and stacks of research and all these things. Then when he was at home, he looked out the window and there were just ordinary people walking by. And he was trying to write the book for ordinary people, to show people how to protect themselves from shady persuaders. And so this really got me thinking about, how can I set up my workspace to maximize my productivity? And so one of the things that I really wanted to do, and that's part of why I got a nice camera now, is that I wanted to set up an actual workspace, not just have a bedroom and a living room, and then sometimes do my work on the couch and sometimes do my work here at my desk, but really to create like the ideal location to do creative work. I think it's a lot like you need to remember to take out the trash. And so you set the trash bag by the front door so that every time you walk by, you're like, oh, I need to take out the trash. And I think creativity sort of works the same way, that if you set up everything and sort of stack the deck to make you do creative work, that you're more likely to do it instead of, I'm working in the living room, the kitchen's right there. Maybe I'll go make myself another cup of coffee. Maybe I'll have a snack. Maybe I'll do all these things that aren't my work. So for me, the issue is with writing. I've sort of gotten burned out on waiting for the muse to strike, so to speak. I feel like the only way that I'm going to move myself up to the next level is to create a set of circumstances that's going to allow me to succeed. I don't think it's unreasonable to think that I could publish a new book every month, or to put out 1, 3, 5 new videos every week, or something like that. But it's extremely hard when I have to stop whatever else I'm doing and try to focus on doing my creative work. So this brings us back to the idea of the garage. Apple Computer, Amazon.com, Google, Hewlett-Packard, all these huge companies. And then even like Marc Maron, who still is a stand-up comedian, who started doing a podcast out of his garage, and that just ended up being huge. He still does it out of his garage. And I think too many people think that they need something special in order to create a workspace. And it's really more about this idea of the garage. That's to say, finding a space that you already have and turning it into something. So I already spent some time this week turning my living room into a space where I can record my videos and record podcasts. And eventually I think I'm probably going to move my desk out there and make it my writing space as well. Basically just to create a creative layer of sorts. And this is all in the same 650 square foot, one bedroom apartment that I've been living in for the last 5 years. Nothing about the space has changed, just how I'm deciding to prioritize that space. Now, you might be thinking, oh, but I have a family, I have responsibilities, I can't convert a space in my house into my garage. And I would say, if you can't, it's not important enough to you, which is fine, totally fine. You should not prioritize your work over the well-being of your family, your children, etc. Those things are way more important. But to say that you can't do it, I think is doing yourself a big disservice. No, you won't do it, and probably for good reason. This brings us to the end of episode 10 of Mike's Always Right. As always, hit the subscribe button, leave a like or a comment or wherever you're getting this from, whether it's an audio or video or whatever. And thanks so much for listening. I really appreciate it. You can find me on Instagram at Mike Eiman. Find me on the web at www.mikeeiman.com. And until next time, remember, Mike's always right.